In the century, England joined global trade. They bring silk and spices from other colonies, but unfortunately, they also bring the zombie virus. And soon this virus spreads throughout the country. Millions die and revive as zombies with a hunger for brains, and healthy citizens begin to study deadly arts from China and Japan. Eventually, the government around London, Ieki sitamantid dati yoronta di dedizen afasi policy tindeshan pushintate, forms the Grand Barrier, a 100-foot-high wall. Then they add a canal called the Royal, which is a very deep moat, both to the city and its walls. Surrounds. The land between the wall and the moat is known as in-between. In the Second Battle of Kent, one of the bridges across the canal breaks, and the zombies all the villagers in between. Kill him, driving the king mad. After the battle ends, he orders the destruction of all bridges except one. Soon, lords and ladies leave London and start living in their fortified palaces. One day, Colonel Darcy, in Hertfordshire County, reaches an estate because he heard about a bitten person. At the entrance, a guard checks his identity and takes him to a tunnel where a priest is bare body to ensure he has not been bitten. Eventually, he is allowed to enter the house where Mrs. Featherstone is playing cards with friends. She swears that no one has been bitten here and no zombie has come to her house in years, pretending that he wants to play as well. Darcy sits at a table and he takes out a vial of carrion flies. Releasing them in the room, he explains that they can detect rotten flesh. The flies hover for only a second before descending on a man, indicating that he is slowly turning into a zombie. Is changing. Darcy immediately breaks his glass and strikes the man's face and then uses his blade to cut off his head. After this, Darcy asks if this man could infect anyone in the house. Featherstone denies it, so Darcy kicks the zombie's head towards the guests. Goes. However, Featherstone's daughter stops lying and goes upstairs to check on the infected person's niece. Goes. Unfortunately, it's already too late. The girl has already attacked the staff and now she attacks Featherstone's daughter too. Meanwhile, Mr. Bennet is training his 5 daughters in all sorts of weapons and martial arts so they can defend themselves from zombies. However, their mother, Mrs. Bennet, is not happy about this and wants them to focus on marriage. Focus. When Mrs. Bennet learns about the upcoming dance, she persuades her husband to let them go as a break. All the sisters are excited about it except for Elizabeth, who is not a fan of social gatherings. They all dress in their best clothes but still manage to hide weapons within them. Ensures. Later at the party, Bingley is conversing with Darcy, but when he sees Jane, he starts to fall in love with her. He asks her to dance and they together enjoy a lot. Have fun. Later, Bingley insisted that Darcy should also dance and asked him to with Elizabeth. Was asked to dance, but Darcy said that she is tolerable, but not handsome enough to tempt him. Elizabeth hears this and leaves, but accidentally drops a bottle and embarrasses herself in front of everyone. She manages to do it. As soon as she steps out, Elizabeth starts crying, but Featherstone stops her. Who has become a zombie? She can still talk and wants to tell Elizabeth something. However, Darcy earlier shot her in the head. Kills. Hearing the gunshot, many people come outside to see them. At that time, a zombie appears and the guard rings the bell to announce the attack while most guests run to hide. The Bennet sisters draw their weapons and begin to fight the zombie. Take down every creature with precise strikes of their blades and well-placed kicks. Seeing Elizabeth fight Darcy towards her, or by with the starts to become attracted. After this, all the bodies of the zombies are burned. When the sisters go home, Jane talks about Bingley. She does not stop, which makes her actions even more cruel. The next day, Jane has the opportunity to have tea with Bingley, gets an invitation. Mrs. Bennet tells her to take a horse instead of the coach, so if it rains, she can be asked to stay the night. On the way, there are some dogs. They are running because a zombie is chasing them. Jane gets ready to shoot, but her horse gets scared and throws her off before running away. Then Jane tries to shoot, but her gun backfires and injures her hand. When the zombie attacks, Jane pulls out her knife and grapples, quickly cutting off the zombie's hand and its leg. Cuts it. When it falls, she kicks it in the chest and to kill it on its head. attacks. As soon as it starts to rain, Jane sees a zombie mother approaching her holding an infected child in her arms. The next day, Elizabeth arrives at the Bingley house. It turns out that Jane was found suffering from the flu, so she spent the night there with a fever, and Elizabeth came to see her. However, Darcy is worried that Jane might be infected, so when the doctor is examining her, he leaves it. The small insects do not react to Jane, and Elizabeth easily catches them all and returns them to Darcy with a sarcastic comment. After that, Jane joins Bingley and his guests, but she declines their invitation to play cards, saying she prefers reading. There's a debate about what makes a real lady, and Darcy is unsure if he is impressed by this or by hate it. That night, Elizabeth secretly watches Darcy training outside. The next day, the rest of the Bennet sisters and their mother come to take them. Bingley wants them to stay, but Darcy reminds him of the risk of infection. Elizabeth has another argument with him and he mentions seeing her last night. To keep everyone happy, Mrs. Bennet encourages Bingley to boost people's spirits for the ball, persuades to throw. Returning home, a husband will be found because women cannot be heirs. During lunch, Collins tells them that their patroness is Lady Catherine, who is a wonderful swordswoman who fought in the zombie war. 19,000. During the afternoon, Collins and the sisters leave to meet their aunt, but they stop on the road because they find a fallen carriage with a woman screaming for help. The sisters grab their weapons, they prepare, and when the woman comes out, they shoot because she is a zombie. Jane pushes her down the hill and finishes her off. As the journey progresses, Elizabeth struggles to pick up all the weapons, but instead of helping her, Collins puts them back into her hands. When they arrive in the city, they knew. They see soldiers who will defend this area. Elizabeth meets Lieutenant Vikram and they immediately get along with each other. Darcy is riding nearby and seeing them becomes jealous, so he leaves without saying anything. Vikram told Elizabeth that due to family issues over money between him and Darcy, do not have a good relationship. That night, everyone attends the ball and Jane spends time with Bingley. Elizabeth tries to talk to Vikram, but Collins forces to dance with a lot of energy and enthusiasm. After this, Darcy also asks her to dance with him, but Collins makes this moment awkward and forces them to move away. While leaving, Darcy talks to Mrs. Bennet about Jane's future with Bingley. He listens while talking and keeps emphasizing his money. Meanwhile, Elizabeth bumps into Bingley and they hear a voice. When they turned around, they see that their servant is being attacked by a zombie. Both take access and go downstairs, but the zombie grabs Bingley and knocks him down. Elizabeth quickly slides down and knocks the zombie down before checking on her friend, showed them the way inside. At that moment, Darcy arrives and begins to fight the zombies. With swift blade strikes and the help of a kitchen knife, he quickly defeats them all. One zombie is even pushed into the oven. Then Darcy asks if Bingley was bitten and gets ready to kill him too. But Elizabeth reassures him that Bingley, they found the the bus has fallen. Before leaving, Elizabeth tells him that he is a great warrior. The next day, Jane receives a letter from Bingley stating that the family is returning to London and he will begin to fall in love with Darcy's sister. During lunch, Collins asks Elizabeth to marry him, but she must give up her weapons and not fight zombies. Elizabeth refuses him and runs outside to relieve her frustrations through training. Her mother scolds her for rejecting such an important proposal, but her father supports her decision, respects him. Elizabeth hugs her father in thanks, but her mother keeps bothering her, so she too finds some peace. Runs out into the forest. In the forest, Elizabeth sees a flock of birds flying over four men. Then Vikram approaches her, and when she turns, the four men they would have missed. Vikram says he didn't see anything earlier and invites her to a special place. A few moments later, they arrive at a church where a preacher is giving a sermon. When the crowd turns, Elizabeth is shocked to see that they are all zombies. Vikram stops her from grabbing her weapon, and the preacher, to give them pig's brains, feeding them. It turns out that the infected people do not fully turn into zombies. They do not eat human brains, and Vikram believes that this is the key to reaching an understanding between zombies and humans. Elizabeth agrees and mentions that they need to present this idea to the crown. They should take it to However, Vikram explains that the war has nearly bankrupted the country, so they have no one to turn to for help. Sometime later, a friend of Elizabeth tells her that it makes her happy. There is also a painting of the four horsemen of the zombie apocalypse who are said to appear as the end approaches. Elizabeth realizes that they are the same people she saw in the forest. Then she meets Catherine and her daughter. Elizabeth is shocked to see that Darcy is also there and learns that he is Catherine's nephew. Soon Vikram arrives because he had invited her so that he could ask for the necessary money for his plan. Catherine thinks the idea of befriending zombies is ridiculous and they would never follow any leaders. They will not listen. But Colin says that the Bible states the Antichrist will lead the dead. Darcy supports Catherine's opinion. When Vikram mentions his father, he becomes angry. He has the guard throw him out. Elizabeth tells Darcy that she, like the dead, is ruthless. Darcy spends a lot of time outside to manage his anger. Elizabeth goes for a walk in the gardens where she meets Vikram. He mentioned that Darcy hid the Bingley family by saying that Jane was only after their money. He's behind it. Vikram reminds her that the day of reckoning is approaching. The next day, Darcy tells Elizabeth that he underestimates, but she scolds him for what he did with Jane and Bingley. An angry Elizabeth kicks him, hits him, and throws several things at him before attacking him with a poker. He quickly defends himself, and they end up in a compromising position on the table. Their argument turns into a full-blown fight, and they end up with each other. They fight. When Elizabeth says she will never marry him, Darcy leaves and she breaks down. Later, Elizabeth receives a letter from Darcy in which he says he did not intend to hurt Jane. He only sent Bingley away to save him from Mrs. Bennet. He also mentions that when he became a zombie, he had to his father to had to kill, but still gave Vikram the money that was promised to him. Vikram kept asking for money repeatedly and got angry when Darcy didn't give the money. Then Vikram tried to marry Darcy's teenage sister for the money, but Darcy saved her in time. Darcy told Elizabeth that he respects his feelings for her, so with his heartbreak, he has gone to London to fight the latest zombie attack to forget. He thinks that the zombies someone is leading, as the attacks were very organized. When Elizabeth returns home, she is scared to learn that Vikram has eloped with the youngest sister Lydia. She thinks he might have taken her to the zombie church. Catherine comes to meet Elizabeth, announcing that if Elizabeth does not marry Darcy, then she will marry his daughter. Elizabeth is currently seeing Darcy in a better light, but she is still uncertain about the relationship. Therefore, Catherine invites her to her challenges to a duel against the guard. The man punches quite a bit, and Elizabeth's attacks stops it easily. Meanwhile, Bingley is on the battlefield and throws a bomb at a zombie trapped in a trench, but a creature grabs him by the scarf. Fortunately, Jane cuts the scarf and frees him.